Hello, everyone. We are live. We are live only maybe 55 minutes late, but that's okay because we have divine timing and divine timing wins, always wins. So um, I had a little issue coming a little bit late, then we have technical issues, and here we are, happy and grateful to start this roundtable today. And I'm excited to be here today with those beautiful, beautiful IQH practitioners, and that will share from their journey some stories and some messages that could be helpful and inspiring for everyone. I'll introduce a little bit and then I'll let everyone introduce themselves maybe in just few words. So we have I'll just say okay. I'll say the full names. So Jacqueline Durlin coming from Canada right now, and hi. And we have Anna Maria Eve from the UK. It's getting a little bit later over there, but thank you for being here with us. And we have Julie Holly, and you are in Texas. Where are you?
Maryland. I'm in Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So from the US, and I'm right now in Israel. So we'll just start with maybe what would be the first question that will help you introduce yourself? Maybe you can say where. I already said where you're from, but you can go more deep into that. Where are you from exactly? If you want to share that, and then you can share how long are you, what are you practicing, how long are you practicing, like if you're practicing even more than IQH. I mean, I know all of you, everybody understand that you're IQH practitioners, but you can share more about your background a little bit, and if you want to, and then um, maybe a little bit of how. Let's start with that, and then I'll ask you how you came into IQH. Anyone want to share? Who want to start?
I can start. Um, I am, again, Julie Holly. Um, I have been doing IQ, well, I was certified in January of this year in IQH. Prior to that, I was doing life coaching since 2015. And I'm also a Kundalini Reiki master, and I play with, I haven't trained, but I play with frequencies, tuning forks, as far as, working with the energy with that. So I have found with the coaching, it was effective for people, but when I added in IQH, it was just phenomenal. People were getting really deep results. And so that's my go-to. That's my main practice right now. I am in Maryland, in the Frederick, Maryland area, but I do the majority of my sessions through Zoom, regardless of location, and that has allowed me to connect with people all over the world. So it's really been a great experience so far.
Yay. Okay, beautiful. Thank you for starting us up. Truly. Who want to go next? Yeah.
I'm Jacqueline again, and I am located right now in Simcoe County area in Ontario, Canada. So if you're looking for me, I can help you. And I started doing, well, first I just started wanting to do some magic, so I thought that would be fun. And then I ended up finding QHHT. So I did that for about 4 years. And then I bumped into Ron and Michael online. And well, I've followed them for a few years. And then just last year, I started doing the IQH course. And I think I got my certification in November. So it's been a really, really fun ride. And the difference between the two, there definitely is one. But they're both great. But anyway, that's all.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Hello. So I'm Anna Maria, and I'm based in Southampton, the UK. So I joined IQH on the very, very first training, didn't I? We did it live, and it was actually confirmed to me about an hour before I decided through an email. It was just asking me to join a hypnotherapy course, and I was like, I'm in an RN, and I went, do you know what, I'm going for it. So I went for it right at the start, and just completely changed everything for me, really. I started off with Reiki, like I think a lot of people have started off with Reiki, especially in this line of work. And yeah, and it's just kind of pulled everything together that I was already intuitively kind of bringing up. So it's just really juicy and gooey and lovely, and it's just so much healing has happened for myself as well as others. So it's a two-way journey. That's definitely something I've learned. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so we all kind of share how transformative it is. And I know for myself, when I started to do this work, my life flipped, like completely 180 from being a dancer and doing all the things all the time, of suddenly I was doing sessions every day and sitting. And since then, I haven't, my life totally flipped and expanded in my consciousness. And I don't think I can even compare my consciousness, me as a person, before I started to now. So it's definitely, I know how transformative it is. And maybe you can share a little bit of your journey with how that impacted you, like what changed, what actually, if you can take a moment and reflect of when you found IQH or QHHT for like, and then going through all this journey to right now. Can you give a little summary of something that you noticed? It's a big question.
So for me, I had never heard of QHHT, but I discovered BQH, and I had a session with a practitioner, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. I want to try that. I want to learn it. I had been a life coach for a while, and I had a session with an energy worker at one point who said, you'll do well with the coaching, but you need to add something else. And so for a while before I found the BQH, I started feeling like I want to learn to work with energy. I want to, get into that a little bit more. And so had no idea what, nothing was really resonating. And so I found this BQH, I had a session, and it was a very interesting journey. I thought, oh, I really like this. I want to learn it. So I signed up to learn that. I got about halfway through and didn't finish. I just kind of dropped it. And that had been a pattern with me for a long time. I try something, I'm interested in it, okay, but I never finished it. So several months later, I was thinking, maybe I'll go back to that. And then I happened to see in a post that Michael had done um, on MeWe, Magenta Pixie, happened to notice there, talking about IQH. I thought, wait a minute, BQH, what's IQH now? I thought, what is that? So I started looking into that, and I thought, whoa, I want to do that. So again, here's something else I want to try. But this is the only one that I have completed. It just, to me, it feels so much more complete, which is taking nothing away from BQH because everything has its own, merits. But this resonated more with me. It felt like it was a much more complete process. And so I started doing the practice sessions, after the learning, and I was just absolutely amazed. It is, you spend, we were taught a 5 hour process. So I had people sign up for it, and they just, I was going through and in my own mind comparing, how does this compare with coaching? They just get to the heart of things in one session rather than drawing it out over several months. 12, my go-to was sort of 12 sessions, but with this, they get it in one. But from that's, from a client perspective, but from a personal perspective, I really got to know myself more. I got in touch with the spiritual aspect of myself. And I can just look back, and it's been a short journey so far, but I really have, with each session, I get more in touch with different things. I get messages from my clients' guides. In one message, Archangel Michael came through and gave me some guidance as far as what I was supposed to be doing. So it really, to me, and throughout my life, I've always seen myself as two people. I was born right on the cusp of Pisces and Aries, which you can't get more opposite. So, through that. So that was a journey. But now that has sort of evolved into where I still see myself as two people. There's the emotional me, there's the human me, and there's the cosmic me. I'm able to see all this craziness that's going on in the world right now. I'm able to sort of see it from a higher level and not get all worked up or fall into all of that fear thing. So it's just been, and I attribute that to the work with IQH, because it just really has gotten me so much more in touch with the spiritual aspect of myself. It's been a great great development for me.
Yeah, you're starting to take me to my next question, but hold on, we'll share that.
Okay.
You need to share more about that. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I remember when we do IQH, we ask to do, when you're new to the modalities of hypnosis, and we ask to do 22 practice sessions, and after that, an interview, because we want to make sure you're confident that everything went well, that you're really ready to launch yourself into holding a practice in this way. And I was really touched by the interview with you, and I remember a moment that you was really emotional, sharing how it was just like you really found your calling. You said that this is just came into as a gloves into your life, and you really found your calling. And that's, for me, it was so special to hear, to feel that it's empowered you and impacted your life in that way. And
it's been amazing. It really has.
Yeah, thank you. So yes, okay, let's continue. Let's go the same order. I think Jacqueline, you can be next.
Okay. And what's the question again? How has this impacted my spiritual journey?
Just like your journey, how from starting this path and reflecting into what shifted by doing this work for you.
Good gosh. Well, I said I just started out wanting to do some magic. But I had a crazily rude awakening when I started doing this. People would say to me, "You have to do your work." And I was looking at them, "What's my work?" And I was a little confused, but I found out that it's the inner work that you need to do. So my journey has been, it took me off the path I was on, and it's rerouted me. And within the rerouting, it's been very bumpy. Very refining on my soul and how I present myself, and even how I practice sessions. It's like taking 15 years of lessons and jam-packed and then coming out like, oh my gosh, what just happened to me? That's been my journey. I think I've moved like 5 times. It's been crazy, but it's been really fun, and I really like myself now. And then I look back at some older sessions that I was doing, and I could tell, the ego is still there. I was really confident and raring to go. And now I listen to sessions that I have completed recently, and I'm much more calm. There's no ego. It's very smooth and much slower. Yeah.
Beautiful. So you could feel like it is funny. I just listened to some of my first sessions. It is so interesting to see how you evolve within just the listening parts of and not having the agenda or trying something like there was in the beginning. Like, ooh, my energy. I so relate to just what you said right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anna Maria.
Hello. Oh wow, my journey's been amazing. It's been so magical. I thought I've been on a few roller coasters, but I think once I've completed my training, which just like I can't remember your name, just like yourself, I took a break, so I completed that, and it was the only thing that I'd ever really completed. Started a few things, but I took a 1 year break. Something made me feel as though I needed to just go and really embody illuminated quantum healing. What does it mean, when you break it down? And I learned that my shadow self wanted to come out and play, big time. So I went and played. And karma was fast tracked. So I decided to help my friend open a business, and we opened a pub. And where else, if you want to play with the spirit world, go and hang out in a pub. And that definitely did happen. And just so many like reflective things happened. People were coming into my life and reflecting aspects of myself that I thought my spiritual ego thought that it had released. I was absolutely fine. I've got my training, I've done this, I've done that, and I'm all connected, and I've done this many lifetimes. Why do I need any more training or release any more? Or do I need to do any more work? But it needed to be done. I connected with IQH through Mike. Actually, it was through the event is happening, and he was holding some meditation sessions, and he was the first person that actually helped me, or I was able to really connect in a meditative state, because a lot of people struggle with that. And Mike was spot on, and he really, really did have the ability to be able to hold a container, really, really well. And that really, really stuck with me. So yeah, that's how I kind of like that's what my journey's been like at the moment. It's been that, but I'm back again, and I'm back practicing again, and yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Well, maybe we'll get into that more in a moment. So I wanted to talk about just from practicing, like even just practicing sessions and having the journey of completing. You all mentioned like it's kind of the first one you completed, and not all of you, but both of you mentioned that it was something for you to notice. And I find that there's interesting journey that happening just by doing all those practice sessions and getting to have this sense of completion after that. I'm wondering if you remember anything from that journey, from this like working toward getting your sessions done, and if there was anything special around that time that you noticed that was shifting in your life just from that process. How that was. I'm taking you back to like reflect for a period of time in your life, and if there was
Yeah, I can say for myself, um, and then that was one of the things that attracted me to IQH, is having to do the practice sessions and having that, personal interaction with you guys. But going through the practice sessions, I was very nervous in the beginning. The first one, my poor sister, she sort of got short shrift there with the first session that I did. But with each one, I felt my confidence starting to grow a little bit. I learned a few things in terms of healing, that it happens in layers. Learned that from one person. Learned about myself. I always was very unsure of myself, always, put myself down. I learned, throughout my life, I have no worth, blah, blah, blah. But I came to realize, getting feedback from each of the clients that I work with, my confidence started to grow because they just were amazed at the results that they got. I had one woman who I think she sent me a quarter of the people that I worked with, just referrals, one after another, because she was so impressed with it. And I thought that helped me to take away that outside layer of putting myself down, of doubting my abilities. And it made me really focus more inward in terms of this is something I can really do to help people. And this is really the reason that I came here to Earth, to this life, is to help these people. Um, and then I had one session where I think I mentioned Archangel Michael came through. He told me, you're here to work with old souls. They need to do the deep work. And that's your job, is to help them do the deep work. And when I look back at all of the sessions that I've had, almost every one of them has said to me, I've done all the work, but there's still something getting in the way. So we were able to work through and figure out, go really deep and figure out what is that. So they were able to. And then I also have more recently started doing multiple sessions with the same person. Some of them need to go a little bit deeper and need more time. And so for them, it's an easier thing. But, I feel like there was a definite personal growth throughout that process for myself.
Yeah, and you helped me to clarify the questions. As you started to speak, I'm like, okay, that's what I wanted to ask. Just couldn't really find the words. It's really what you needed to overcome through the process of then this initiation and the practice sessions within yourself in order to feel confident and to hold the sessions. So you just spoke to that. So thank you. Yeah. Jacqueline, what do you feel like you needed to overcome to become an IQH practitioner?
My own limits, really. With other modalities, there are some limits set in place. I was already starting to play with it myself. Over the time you create your own practice, things come up in the sessions, you create your own techniques within that. So I was already starting to play with different script techniques and different stuff like that. And then finding you guys really, like once I signed up for the course, it literally just was like the gates went open. I can go online. I can do whatever I want now. Not whatever I want, but like whatever the higher self wants. Without any limits. There's no boundaries now. Doing the sessions was amazing because then I got to, of course, I stuck to Michael's and your scripting, and I kind of mixed the two together. But it was so different. I had so many different councils coming in, the Galactic Federation of Lights coming, we're speaking with Arcturians, speaking with all these different consciousnesses now that have opened up a whole new realm, whole new beam of light coming in. So I found a lot of that. Also, higher selves have guided people to me that I'm supposed to do work with in the future or work together with. One of my clients, she has very, very open family. Her kids, she bring to me. So I've started doing kids sessions just through that as well. Wow. So it's really opened that up. And I've gotten to do some more practice with that, just from, again, referrals from people.
Yeah. It's beautiful that you're bringing up the kids because it is something that is guided the opposite way with the QHHT. Like there's no any reference about doing it with young ones, and I really do find the benefit and the beauty in doing this practice also with the young ones. There's such an incredible information. I actually was just feeling into cultivating more of just that to be able to craft it even more special for the young ones. And I'm so happy to hear that you're working with them and that you find this openness and cultivated already something. So I feel like we're probably going to talk about it more soon.
Great. Yeah. It's definitely like it's more of a manifesting, creation, and then all of the questions they have are actually answered along in the journey I've found. So it's been really fun.
Yeah, beautiful. Anna Maria, so I wanted to ask you the same thing, but also because you had this kind of in and out from the practice, what you needed to overcome to come back in to like really, like you said, like you wanted to embody illuminated quantum healing for you. So what did that mean for you as you're embodying it now, and that what did that?
It's my shadow self. That's what took me out. That's what I had to shed, and that's what illuminated quantum healing did for me. It started to shed those parts of me, and I thought there was only 12 pieces to the pie, but actually there was 112, and so, and trusting my intuition, and actually working with my higher self. And that's why I took the break, is so that I could really embody and bring my higher self forward, and just be with my higher self always. And when we are operating in shadow self, then we become unconscious, and then that's when the higher self kind of dissipates back into the background, or our source chord becomes fragmented, however it is. So yeah, that's what I needed to overcome, my shadow self. And it's not completely done yet, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, the healing and the process and the integration and the listening and getting touch and in tuned. Beautiful. Okay. So let's see. You're starting to share a little bit of stories and experiences that were kind of expansions and things that you experienced through the practice. And I'd love to hear some of your stories that you feel called to share today that had impacted you, where had maybe new information that was new for you or important for the collective. I'm trusting that you can feel what was impacting you to feel like to share with us and a little bit. So I'm sorry, there's so many helicopters here today in Israel, and I'm just gonna try. I don't know if you can hear, maybe the microphone doesn't, but there's so many. So Julie, would you like to start?
Yeah, I have probably the most profound session that I had was the client was someone who, it's a very interesting paradox. She's out there doing things. She's a magazine editor, and she's pulling people together and doing stories and whatnot. But on a personal level, she was very closed off, just not sure of herself. And I noticed that the first time that we met, her eye contact in the beginning was just not there. Now, we did it on Zoom, and she would just look everywhere except in the camera, and struggle to sort of talk. But by the end of the session, she was much more open and much more aware, just more into more eye contact. And it was in that session she channeled Archangel Michael. So he, I do with this, the body scan, we had talked about this before, as far as, I had said, start at, do the body scan from head to toe. And at that time I was kind of directing them on how to do it. Like, okay. But no, he said, no, not head to toe. No, don't start at the head, because she was in her head too much. He said, start at the feet. So then that went into him instructing me on different ways to do things a little bit better. And he kept saying, we need more light workers. And I said, what is my role in that? He said, that was when he went into the whole thing about the deep work. He said, old souls need to do the deep work. They need to descend before they can ascend. And it took me a minute to get that. He had to explain it a couple different ways until I realized, okay, they have to go in there and really do that deep work from way back. It could be past lives, it could be anything, but all these old wounds. And he gave me the whole prescription, who to call on for what type of thing. So he kind of named my whole team, it's all archangels. This one does this one does that. And so I've been working with them. but also they said, we're going to be sending you people who are light workers, but they need to do their own stuff. They need to clear out all of their old stuff. And I've been seeing that with people. I mean, personally, I've done like, I feel like millennial time, just constantly working and working and working. And when I get to a point where I think, okay, I'm done with all of that, then I get triggered and something else comes out. It's like, where'd that come from? So, and it's the same kind of thing that I'm noticing with clients when they, I've done all the work, but there's just something getting in the way. So, that sort of helped me to realize, all right, this is what I'm here to do. But that sort of leads me to the most recent person that I'm working with had a really hard time with letting go and trusting the process. So she also has done a lot of different modalities, but when we got to the hypnosis part, she was trying too hard and she just was not able to let go and trust what was coming. So this week we did a follow-up session with her and I got a little more insight in terms of, she kept saying, I have this pressure in my head. And, I came to realize that that's resistance. So, we worked on that. And I kept trying to take her deeper and deeper because she kept saying, I'm not getting you. I need to go deeper. Okay, so we went deeper. She was able to finally let go a little bit where she realized, there was one past life situation that she needed to work through. But I had an experience in that particular session. I do Reiki outside of, I have never put it into one of the sessions, but in this case, I was like, okay, what needs to happen? This going by the prescription here as far as the different scenes, that's not working. So I said, all right, I called in my team and said, whatever needs to happen, just, I got this vision of her laying on a table and I could see light, she is just light. And they were working on her. I could see that they were doing the work and just filling her with light. And I could feel it in my heart center. I knew that this was happening. And so this was the first time that I really felt like I got a lot out of every session, but this one just really was a physical connection that I felt. And so again, it just blows me away every time I do something. These sessions don't disappoint. There's always something that really, just pulls me to the next level. Beautiful. Along with the client. So it was good.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I think one of the things that was always so profound to me is that amount of energy that we experienced during the session that really, how how it's working on us while we're conducting the sessions, and then the really learning to trust the intuition, be able to receive our inner guidance during the sessions is so important. So you can actually be confident and be authentic and have allow the person to really feel comfortable and safe. So it sounds beautiful. Sounds like you're doing a wonderful job of just also listening during. And
that's the one thing that I've learned. With some people, some people just very easily go into the whole process and they go from one scene to the next, and they can tell you, I've taken to asking, do you need to get anything more out of this scene? Some of them know, okay, but others, they go a little bit further with it. But then there have also been I use a cloud for them to go from scene to scene. In one case, it was before I get her back on the cloud. She said, I'm already on the cloud. I'm on my way. Okay. So that happened a couple of times. And I finally said, all right, just, float up on the cloud and let it take you wherever it wants to go. Well, she went all over the place. I'm going here, I'm going looking at that. So, that was fun. But in this case, this most recent one, just the whole session, I thought just, whatever needs to happen, let's take you where you need to go and what you need to get out of it. And that's when I had that experience of the energy pulling through. So, it's really, again, it amazes me every time.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay. So, Jacqueline, do you want to go next? I just want to say to everyone on the chat that they can't see you, but many people here sending you love and having a little different, just there's little comments, but not everybody can say, just me, and we're not really using too much of the chat today. So just thank you for your love and all of that, and chat would be for other meetings. But thank you for writings and so Jacqueline, do you want to share?
I actually wanted to share something a little different. I wanted to share my experiences being the practitioner, and one day I decided to ask to speak to my higher self. So I just spoke. I had amazing, the energy was amazing. I just had the past life with Cleopatra, and we went through that. So that her energy is just off the charts. She's been to the Fountain of Youth, by the way. Off the chart. So we end that, and it's just me and my friend, and she's had a few sessions already. So I asked to speak to my own higher self, and this is where I learned the most, because I am a very blunt person, and I respond to that. And my higher self instantly told me, "You talk too much. Stop talking. Slow down. You need to let people answer. You're rushing." So I'm like, oh, oopsie daisy. And I gave myself some information and whatnot. And then I was going to move on because I felt like, all right, we need to concentrate on the client. Then I'm like, no, slow down, stop talking. We're not done. So I actually gave myself a chakra cleanse. And I had myself imagine a snail with the center of the snail starting at the solar plexus going down to the sacral. The second I started imagining that happening, I felt physically like a buzzing energy, a buzzing, tingling in my feet. And I felt the energy come through my crown, all down to the solar plexus. And it did. I felt it go around the sacral, then the heart, then the root, then the throat. And it just kept going. And then I felt pressure on my nose. It was just, we lost some.
But she's come back. She's back.
Sorry.
She's back.
Yeah, physical pressure on my nose. And I'm, I remember saying, oh, what's that? And then she's like, yep, keep going. And I felt all of these things in my body, conscious, awake, sitting there. So I thought that was very neat to experience. And I've had a few other things happen to me like that, where I've asked to have like the programming erased from both me and the client from oppressive institutions. And I've instantly gone into trance and seeing things flash before my eyes, like holographical images that made such an impact, mostly from Disney movies. Like it was so quick. I seen like the tail of a few foxes, like the Fox and the Hound and Robin Hood Fox, a lot of orange, just whitewashed away, and just totally felt different after. So those were some really neat experiences just as a practitioner that you can have just by inquiring a little further.
Yeah, beautiful. There's also what's called surrogate session that you do to basically help healing of somebody else. For example, somebody is in the hospital or in a coma, or even children or something. So when you work with somebody under trance and you ask to work on behalf of somebody else and connect with their higher self, and so I'm sharing this because I decided also the same thing, to try to do a surrogate for myself as well. So it was really beautiful experience too. She went to see my past lives and to connect with them. And it was interesting because they chose a life that we were together in that past life. And then they shared from that perspective. And she both received information for herself and also for me. And they just combined a beautiful story for both of us to learn from. And it was really, really special. So it is a nice exploration to do it. And it also was with somebody that I worked many times, and we felt that we can take it to like a whole nother level of exploration. How cool it is that we get to play with consciousness in this way, and to Thank you for sharing. Anna Maria.
Hello. Yeah, I love surrogate sessions. I've learned so much information with them. They're really handy, especially as well when you can't connect yourself, and then somebody else can bring the information through for you, because you can be a bit biased, can't you? You can double check it sometimes. So for me, my I think my biggest impact moment with IQH was my second or third training session, and it was with a friend of mine, and she had a demonic possession. So I'm going to stay on the shadow side of things, because I think that's really where I've been playing with regards to it. And and this thing was pretty intense. It didn't want at the start of our session, as we were doing the breathing techniques and just the talking, it's these red eyes were just kept on flashing at me. I was like, oh, am I going to be able to do this? I was actually freaking out. And and then somehow we managed to release this demonic possession. But what was fascinating about it was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years old, and she'd been to a beach cliff, and this demonic possession, this demon was connected to that area, and she'd picked it up because she'd had a past life with it. She was a parent of this entity or something before, and she'd picked it up, and this entity would basically convince that there was a set of robbers that used to stand at the top of the hill, and they would lure people in, they would steal their money and then push them over the hill. And we went and checked this out as in a real life story, and it was true. I can't remember the name of the actual demon that it is that we released. So that was when my eyes just went, whoa, right, okay. So how much of what are we doing is actually conscious? And when we go to our GPs and ask for help, and they're prescribing pharmaceuticals and this, that, and the other, and they're just stabbing in the dark, left, right, and center, how much of that is actually relevant? And that's when my mind just went. And and I think that's been the main thing for me, is that we are able to identify attachments and interferences that are outside of ourselves, that could have been there from any kind of trauma, and it's how we pick them up as well, because we pick them up when we're traumatized. Something will happen, and in that split second our auras will open, and then they'll creep in, and it's fast, it's quick. I don't want to scare anyone, but it is a part of the work that we do. And it's big. It's really, really, really big. And they hide behind emotions. And this is where we need to, this is why we work on the emotions within the modality, is so that we can close up that space so that they can be released. And that's so vital. It's so vital. There was something else I wanted to say, but it's gone.
But I'll ask you a question though. For them.
Go for it.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, and thank you for bringing up this also a little bit darker side, and this.
It's got to be done. It's got to be done. It's not just light.
We gotta put it out there. It's not only I don't know, rainbows and flowers, and right. We have a lot of things to clear, and we're purging, and we're clearing, and we're going through sufferings, and we're going through our own shadow, and we're getting to know those parts of ourselves. And I feel like I think the most profound sessions is with people that are really ready and willing to see also the dark side. And sometimes they're in one session, they will make you see something really difficult and then show you something the most beautiful, and they kind of balance it to be able to have this range. And it's true, there is a lot of energies that are heavy, that are from the so many old energies on the earth that are that through this modality we're being able to clear it for the person, but also for the collective, sometimes even from the area itself. Sometimes I had sessions that we went to just an area that was an entity that needed to be cleared from that area because it was affecting the area. So it's even sometimes not just a personal clearing. And I agree with you. I had a few really interesting and in their in their first expressions, they can seem so like bad. I had like, when
So
you ask me to speak to that, and they're like, I'm like, okay, here we go. We don't even use words here. So, and then just the clearing moment. So I wanted to ask you, what helped you through the training, or what do you understand about this clearing of the energy? How are you not afraid of now coming into those dark moments of dealing with entity? What can you say?
I
Or
brought
maybe
it back to love. Brought it back to love. Reminded this entity that it came from love, and that the parents didn't know what to do with it, and that's why it was disregarded. But the original seed, the original point, was always love, and that's it. And then they remember. They remember. So you take them back to that point, and they go, oh yeah, it wasn't me, it was them. And then that's when they start, and this is where we get a bit cheeky, because one thing I've noticed is that as we do that and we start to heal the actual entity, their fragmentation starts to come back into them, and then they become whole, and then that's when they can carry on, and it's fascinating. The Book of Psalms is very helpful for this work as well, if you ever get drawn to work with that. And even reading the Psalms to the entities as well, to show them the process. I think it's from Psalm, is it 120 all the way up to 126 or 133? It actually shows you, when you read it to them, it shows the process to the entities of what happens. So then that eases, and then they let go a lot easier as well. I'm giving a little bit of training here, but it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I've played
new traits over there.
Yeah, definitely. And they get upset as well. Oh no, you're healing me, stop it. And then they'll go, no, I'm not playing anymore. And then it's, don't worry, I'll be back again, I'll see you later. And it's like, that's what it is. And I think, my year off, that was one thing. We're going talking about the grid work, when we're clearing areas and sites. And I did that a lot in the area where I live as well, because there is a lot of demonic possession where I am. There's bars everywhere, there's all sorts going on. World War II happened, Titanic's around I live right by where the train station was for the Titanic, so it's just so much history there, like so much. And yeah, it's important work, really important work. It's part of the balancing of the scales, I think.
Beautiful. I will ask you questions. Maybe we could get into, because I learned with you something really interesting about entities too. You might remember, if you, well, maybe we can share about it, because
go for it.
Okay, so maybe let's continue and then we'll come back to this. Okay. Where do we continue? Maybe I just want to kind of ping pong into you. I don't know if we have to if I have to ask you questions, or you actually feel inspired to share something that this information brought up for you, Julie.
I have a question, actually. If actually, for both of you, for Anna and Jackie. For Anna, when you're working with the entities, do you actually read the psalm to them as they're? How does that process work? I'm just curious.
So I find when they're being a bit more difficult and they need a little bit of nudging. And quite often, sometimes it's different, sometimes it's just a motherly touch that we need. Sometimes they actually need to be shown the process, because they fear God. They fear the light. And that's and then that's where the Psalms come in then, because if they're hundreds of years old, they've been through it, and they know it all. They know it all already. But it's just that we're bringing in the light aspect of the work within the reading, so then they start to feel it. Because as I read the Psalms, then information floods through me, downloads flood through me, and then that entity will pick up the information that's flooding through me. Because when you're connected, or when you're in the bubble of healing, we're all one, aren't we? So it all transfers, and that's what. And then as the information downloads through me when I'm reading the Psalms, and I go, oh, that's what that means. Oh, that's what that means. You're meditating on each part. Then they start to lighten the grip. You can feel them lighten the grip. So for me, one of my magical powers, and when we're talking about magic, is the fact that I'm very empathic. I can feel everything absolutely like physically, emotionally, everything. I can feel it. So I can feel them loosening the grip as well. And I can feel when somebody's releasing an emotion. I don't know if that's the same for everyone, but yeah, so that's how, because the vision isn't there for me. So there's still stuff I'm doing on my shadow self. So this was another reason why I had to take a year out, so I could really feel what energy meant. What was good energy and what was bad energy, because a lot of us who work within this line of work, we have the vision, but I don't have the vision as much. I have to go into what do we call it, I'm losing my words now. Quantum, when you go to quantum travel, when you go astral travel, I have to go into astral travel to be able to receive vision, and then that's just fascinating. I mean, that's another day. Yeah,
I'm just fascinated by all of this energy stuff. There's so much, everything is energy. If you just remember that, then nothing can. I hear people talking about, oh, you can't fix that, or you can't. But why not? It's just energy. Yeah, you can figure it out.
It's all energy. Everything is energy.
Yeah. And Jacqueline, I'm curious, you said that you're working with children. How does that work in terms, are you doing it sort of as a surrogate basis, or how do you work with them in terms of their involvement?
Well, they lay down and they have a session.
What age range? I'm just curious as far as age.
For the younger ones, for let's say, okay, the youngest I've done is like 5.
Oh wow!
Wow.
I did that in like a group atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of like let them take turns telling me what they were seeing, and it was like a manifestation exploration. Basically, they were telling me what their magical house would look like, and their special moments was always a family gathering or holiday. It's just a lot of love.
Mm-hmm.
The older kids, I do one-on-one, just like the youngest one I've done is 10, I think. And it's just normal. You just go through it. The answers you get are going to be different. So the whole session it's like a spiral. It's like cooking gumbo. It's not like they don't go to a past life. They're not going to a death scene or anything like that. It's more like, okay, I'm in a land of dragons. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's find your dragon guide. And so all of a sudden we're at the top of the mountain and he's got a dragon guide there. And the dragon is telling him guidance on things. And then all of a sudden we're going on a fly and the dragon's teaching the kid how to fly on his own and have his own wings. And then all of a sudden the dragon's like, okay, go up into the sun. And the sun becomes the portal to the higher self. So now we're going through the sun and we've become a beautiful phoenix. And now I'm in, right? So then when it comes to the questions they bring me, I'd use it as an experience. So they want to know, oh, have I ever had a past life as an animal? So yeah, I'll bring that up. And then, all of a sudden you're a tiger and I'm bringing in the energy of the tiger. How does it feel to be a tiger? And can we integrate that confidence and that courage into your daily life and how you go about and, problems with school and stuff like that, different animal aspects I'd bring in or past lives that we need to bring in, not necessarily going through the past life story, but bringing in that aspect and feeling the energy and really, really embodying it. And then, it's different every time, but at the ending, I always do an aura wrap. So, fill the bubble with love. We're wrapping it for protection so nothing can attach. We're cutting cords. We're just really solidifying their bubble and their connection with spirit and earth and sending them on their way like that.
That's beautiful. Where were you when I was a kid? That is just really, it's so needed for kids to feel that, to connect with with themselves and their strengths. That's great.
Yeah, and I must say it's really coming up for me lately. It's just I'm meeting more and more parents of kids that finding that they don't have the skill and the tools to really support their really sensitive, special children in the, I know of myself, the education system that I went into, and how it's like not always fit for those very advanced soul that comes with so much energy and special abilities, and then to really give them the skills to integrate their higher self, their being, because it's almost like it's so different here on this planet that they're having really hard time to integrate.
Yeah.
Um, I actually worked with a child that it was around, I think it was 8 years old, and because he had a cancer, and he did go to a past life, a full past life, um, and it was a little bit more fantasy, but it's also it wasn't a simple one. He worked with a really dark energy over there as well that needed to be addressed, and there was a lot of he did go to the death thing and all of this. So I think it's different, and every situation will be unique, and but I know of kids that at some time they're when they feel confident, and when they're even more young, or when they start to just feel confident, and when the higher self feel ready, sometimes even just through the conversation, because they know that they came to a safe place that actually have the opportunity to be spoken. Sometimes the higher self will just come in even with before you even do the induction, and will take over and will start speak because they're ready. And it's really high being that it doesn't it's really different with those young ones. They're gonna show us a whole new level of what's possible when it's available. Um, and I think we're just on the starting to work with them, and I'm really excited to see how this is going to evolve to work with kids. So
Yeah, me too. Everyone's so different. Like I haven't had a kid go to the death, so that's interesting. Yeah, he must be ready.
yeah, he was ready, and he needed to experience it because he had to go through it, and he already did. He transitioned, and but he was. I think how beautiful it was for him and his parents um, to trust that there's more than just this life, and that he is, as a kid, knows and not and believing in past life from being in such a young age, to really believe in past life and dealing with death so or just around the corner, and just finally trusting and knowing that there's more than just this life. And I really hope it's somehow assisted in his ascension process when he left. Um,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's, it is interesting. I had few of those cases that it was very clear to me through the sessions that they came with, like, when they come within the, sometimes they come in their kind of last resort, because they really don't have any more solutions with the medical industry, and they can come in their last moments. And sometimes through the sessions you get to understand that, yeah, they're probably transition, like that's not about healing in this one, it's about actually making peace with death,
Mm.
and being
Mm.
able um, to help them transition, not to help them heal. And those sessions can be also for that. It is quite powerful. um, yeah.
That could be the healing within itself, though, can't it? The transition,
Yeah.
you know. Mm.
Yeah. We're getting deep here.
That's what we do best.
Gotta descend before you can ascend. So I'm curious, Ron, you mentioned about as far as the child transitioning. I imagine that would be helpful for the parents as well to be able to accept the transition of the child. Is that?
Yeah, I think in a way, yes, but I don't think that when it's being made, it doesn't being made in a way that is. I never felt that it was like being said like, yes, you're going to transition. It's just, for example, in one session that I did with somebody that had that had cancer in his brain. No, this one was a different cancer, was in his body. I think it was blood. I think it was, yeah. And for example, they showed him that he went to be the sun, and he saw the children from that perspective, and how he became the sun. He became moment of witnessing and being a witnessing consciousness, and and it was somebody that came to the session not believing in past life, not really believing in, not really from like a spiritual place. He came from a really family situation, just last resort, maybe try that, why not, from doing this interesting thing. And it wasn't spiritual or open so much to spiritual topics. I remember in the conversation that when we talked, there was something that we talked about, like I referred to a consciousness of a plant, and he was like, I don't see plant with consciousness. It's like it wasn't something that could, for him it was a new concept. Like, just to give you the idea of where he was with his spirituality, or he was very not religious, but everybody in Israel, even if you're not religious, you have upbringing, and the story is, you learn it, it is in your DNA almost, or somehow you went through the stories, you read it at least once in your family, or I don't know, through the holidays and the traditions and school. So in his session, for example, he went and met somebody, one of the character from the Bible that he is so not into, and this character was giving him information, like, so there was suddenly expansion, some more of just this, and it was clear, because of the resistance, because of the level of the information, that he saw things that would just assist him under accepting and knowing that there is more, and that it's not about the solution of it. There was a little bit, I think what it was maybe helping to make it more gentle than actually making it, just helping maybe the healing was to make it a bit more gentle than actually not, like, it wasn't like opportunity to reroute the story, the lessons. Like, this time it was, there's no really way back to your original plan. This time you need to continue in another way. And actually, I'll talk one more quick story about the surrogate session, the same for somebody with cancer that that also left, and was also clear that that's what's going to happen. No, it wasn't clear that that's what's going to happen. That was a moment of a choice, and it showed us in such a beautiful way that the choice, there's no good or bad. There's no any of like that's the right choice or that's the wrong choice. It's just a choice, and from and what they explain about the reason that it's happening, the reason that the illness came, and the reason that this either leaving the body or rerouting completely to accept what this person was supposed to do here. And what they explained that how with he had a trauma when he was young, and then slowly, and in that trauma he's like registered something that kind of took him off the original plan. And every time life tried to show him this pattern, instead of that being cleared and using this opportunity to say, oh, I see the pattern, I see the trauma, now I'm going to heal that and go to the depth of it so I could go back to my original soul and source and my truth and he stayed with like this registered and just kept going further and further away. It was just building another layer and another layer and another layer that would take him even further from his what his soul came here to experience.
Mm.
And when the soul suddenly, the soul came here to experience something particular, a certain, let's say, lessons and en route, and slowly they notice that they don't have the opportunity to complete what they wanted to do here. So what they're deciding, it's either you go back to it by having this cataclysm. It can be an accident, it can be a disease of some kind that will try to help you get back to that center, that source, this truth within you. Or this time for you to live so you can actually start to do it again and actually accomplish what you came here to accomplish, what you came here to learn. So it wasn't, or it's good or it's bad. It's just like, oh no, that's what's needed to happen to actually be for the benefit of everybody. From our perspective, it's okay. That's not there's no really different. It's just a choice, his choice. And in this situation, for me, what was sad is that he didn't really have the opportunity to understand it, to take the information that was come to us through the surrogate session, for him to really understand where he is. And it was very clear that he's not choosing that, because he had no option to integrate that lesson, to understand what was this thing that took him out of his path. So when it was kind of all unfolding, it also was kind of clear that in this situation, there's not much that we can do. We can't do. It's up to everyone to find how they integrate the information in the sessions. Yeah, a lot about transitioning today.
Can I ask one more question with regards to transitioning? And so when a person leaves earlier on in life before it's intended to, and they leave behind children or family or anything like that, what happens to the soul? Are you shown in the sessions as to whether they're going to be a spirit guide or anything like that? Because I think that'd be really nice to know about or hear about. Sorry.
Yeah. There's really beautiful, I don't know if you, okay, maybe I'll ask somebody, you guys, maybe before I answer. I'll let you speak a little bit, if Julie or Jacqueline, do you have anything that comes to you through?
As far as souls transitioning, now this is, I mean, I have an example, but it's not someone who's younger that goes before her time. It was my mother, who was 96. And while she was here for the longest time, she and I, it turns out, are very much alike. And so there was a lot of friction between us for a long time until I started to recognize certain traits that she has, that so do I. And then I started working on my stuff. But after she transitioned, she was here. I mean, she's here with me all the time. I mean, as far as a guide, it's always, what would mom do? What would mom have done? And she's like right there. She gives me the answer. If I'm struggling with something, she's right there. She tells me what's, or cheers me on, or I can just hear her and feel her with me. So I believe that. And again, I think that when someone crosses over, they are here for their people that they leave behind, whether it's their children, their spouse, their partner, whoever. I believe that they're here, just kind of because they have a different perspective. They can see things a little more clearly, a lot more of the situation, and they kind of can see ahead of what you're heading towards and give you advice in terms of that. It's up to us whether we hear it, allow ourselves to absorb it, and to follow it.
Beautiful.
That's my take.
Thank you. Jacqueline, do you want to share what's your take?
I had a surrogate session for a young boy back when I first started. And he is dealing with MS. I don't know. I haven't talked to him, so I don't know what's up. But he went to his higher self, took him to the last day of his life. and he was laying underneath maple trees, just enjoying the earth. And when the soul left the body, he went up to the light, said there was a bunch of people there to greet him. I feel like we go more multidimensional, though. I don't. There's not just one. There's like, you can do, you know, like your loved one over here is like, oh, I missed that, Jacqueline, and then I'm like, bam, I'm there. Oh, but I'm also over here, and there's a bit of me over there. But I feel like we can do that whenever someone thinks of us on the other side, right? And then come in whenever we're needed, but also be at source. So then that person feels that direct connection as well.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a beautiful question, and the truth of it is probably none of us can really grasp
Yeah.
the truth of what's out there and what's on the other side of it. But I can share that there's many different beautiful metaphors and stories and ideas that people share through experiencing those other side, and then and it's actually a really beautiful session that I'll sharing in my book that is coming out soon, where they took her to a place, the in between, let's say, that they call it the nursery, where after the death process, where it's like they call it like, it's like a school, it's like a nursery, it's like where the soul can actually understand and grow and then choose again, and I think that's maybe the place that we want to be able to really understand, because our soul bounce around from so many planets, and we had so many options, and we learn so much, and we do it at the same time in many places at the same time. And when we are in that place of oneness, we have the ability to see and understand and absorb all this information at once, that kind of when it's but you don't really. And then there's different things and option for you there. You can rest there, you can guide from there, you can go on another journey from there for another place, you can come back to your creator self, there's so many things that probably our soul is and did and originated from, I don't think we can grasp it. I really don't think that we have the capacity in this density that we are at this point in this polarity consciousness to understand what exists in oneness, because we're just in polarity. So what comes to us, I believe, is just metaphors in a way, to give us a glimpse, to try to have a little higher program, just a tiny higher from what we can right now, because the truth is, I don't think we can contain so much in this body right now. And just slowly, I remember my first out-body experience when I was feeling the oneness and seeing everything in vibration, and this was my awakening moment. It was like it was before I don't know, before everything, I had that experience of like, okay, so I sat next to my body, everything was vibration. I felt euphoria, the best feeling I ever felt. And I felt this oneness, and I felt wise. Like I knew everything. I didn't need to think about anything. I didn't know what I knew, but I knew everything. Like the feeling of wisdom of like, not like I know all. And I don't know if we can, like when you come to the body, I don't think you can explain it, but it's like, huh? And I remember how I knew all, but there was nothing about the baggage of this life. I didn't know my parents. I knew everything. Like this life, I didn't know anything about. I didn't know. I forgot that I'm Ron. I forgot that I have a name. I forgot that I have parents. I forgot my. But the feeling of wisdom and knowing all was there. So I don't know if we could ever really describe the other side. And that was just a glimpse of what my consciousness can understand from just this just still being in polarity. And I think what was catalyst in that for me is to really understand that there is separation between body and soul. And I think it was very important for me as a dancer, because then I could really, suddenly after that, I could see how the spirit, the soul, the emotional body is affecting the physical body, and I could really work with both. I could somehow become much more sensitive and tuned to energy, and also they cracked open my compassion and my like suddenly I was much more empathic than I've been before. Something shifted. I don't know. Maybe it was a block in the heart that needed to clear out or something. But it was really interesting shift in my being. Okay, we're gonna go back to more questions. And Julie, I like that you had some questions there too. Because this way it's a roundtable. I'm just here to give the opportunity. I'm not really on the so let's see. It's the next topic that there's just a second. There was something I wanted to come back to before. Okay. It's not exactly what it's another thing that I also want to come back to. It's that, and it's with Anna Maria. I remember you posting a lot of information suddenly about diet, what to eat, what like it seems like you got like a bunch of information about that. Can you maybe share a sentence about it? What was going on there? You know what I'm talking about?
So I think was it the session where I had with Eli, and I ended up, where did I end up? I ended up in Africa with Bill Gates, I think it was, and it was something to do with the blood. Is that what it was? Yeah. So I was shown about the V's, and that there was going to be many different types, but the best way to once we had, what was I shown? So I was shown that once we had detoxed from the V, it was blood type dieting that was going to be the main thing that was going to assist the DNA to restore itself. So that was what I was shown. I wasn't shown much information on it, but it was blood type dieting, something that I've been following because of my eczema. It's like the computer program, but in textbook, for what's good for us and what's not good for us. Blood type dieting. That's the best way that I can describe it, really. It's like the textbook of the computer program. And so that's what will assist us as to go back to our original DNA point, is by focusing on blood type dieting and feeding our programs with what it does need in order to restore itself. So going back to our original ancestral and where we came from, and that's how we can restore back. That's what I was shown.
Yeah, and you shown it particularly like you were under, and you shown like it was okay. Got it.
Yeah. So I was under, and I was taken to Africa, and I was shown like all these children being injected, and that the whole point of that vision, or that scene, was that not one type fits all. That was it. Not one type fits all. And this is where this is why so many were becoming injured, because they were using one type to fix an ailment, but they weren't taking into consideration our DNA and our blood types. That's what I was showing.
And you received things that are good for you, like you weren't shown about your own blood type and what's the right diet for you, or Was it last month?
I wasn't. I'm aware that I'm a -B, but I wasn't, because I've got to be honest. Because we went to Africa, and then after that, I got taken into the underground tunnels, and I was like, no, I'm out. It was a bit too soon for me. It was like my first regression. Yeah. So I
Okay.
tend to, with my regressions, I tend to almost like fall into a space, and then I channel information. So there was even this same session, I ended up in Wisconsin, and I was told that Wisconsin was going to be where the main changing point for America is going to happen. And this was 2 years ago. So this information came through 2 years ago, and I was been watching it, but it's kind of coming about. So Wisconsin's been a big player at the top, hasn't it, for all of this stuff that's been going on. So yeah, we just yeah.
Can you? I'm sorry, I was like a little bit zoning out just because I saw somebody.
Sorry.
No, you're good. I was zoning out because I was reading the chat for a moment. But so can you share more about your experience? You mentioned like you went to Africa and you saw something about the bees and you saw something with Bill. And can you express in what context that came? What do you mean by that?
It was like an amalgamation of visions that I was shown, and I was taken to Africa to show that this is what the bees were doing. They were crippling children. They were hurting the children, and they were hurting the reproductive system, the immune system, the blood.
You're saying this?
The vaccination. I don't know if we can say. I did you think I meant bumblebees? Oh, I wish I.
Okay.
Oh yeah. That's what that was connected to. That was that's what all that session was connected to, kind of like what was going on around about that time. But we're going back 2 years ago now, I think, aren't we? So yeah. Has it been that long?
It was it before all of.
No, it was at the start. So it was after it was when we started. I think it was a couple of weeks after we kind of got let loose to go and practice on each other. Yeah. I was like, oh, tell me more. But actually, I didn't even have any questions. It just kind of happened. Yeah, and then we went into the underground tunnels, and I said, no, I'm all right. I'm going to check out now. I don't want any more information. It was cold and it was horrible, and yeah, because I can't see, but I can only feel. So yeah. Anyway.
And I want to ask you one more question. We said we're going to talk about the experience of clearing and energy from you when you share, because I learned something really new about it, but I think maybe you should share. Would you?
So the gin, wasn't it? I had a big old gin attached to me. Yeah. That was rather interesting. What did we learn that was fascinating about the gin? So we learned that it works in light and dark. So dependent on the person or the vessel that it attaches to will depend on how the actual entity operates. So if we are working in light towards spiritual ascension and all that, it will manipulate us in that way. But if we're working in dark, it will accelerate us in dark ways of self-sabotage in order to accelerate us in that way. Either way, it's accelerating us. And we can only release them, and they will continue on their journey because they're God's workers. They're literally they've been assigned tasks by God, and that's it.
Yeah. So what was beautiful to hear about how that blessed by source to help some catalyze change, catalyze this basically initiation of some kind that is that it's like, in a way it seems to be negative and it feels like an attachment and it feels bad at this moment, but in a way it's a positive experience to go through and to clear and to initiate, because it's what's needed for that person to go back. And
completely.
So that was really nice, and that was the first time that like there was this like type of entity that I heard the jinn came first.
So you'll hear about them a lot in the Quran. The Muslim community really are very, very aware of it, and they will scream jinn if somebody's not behaving well. Then they're possessed by jinn, and they've got all sorts of types of shadow workers and shadow hunters that are working to release them, but some of them, they use like physical modalities, because I did a lot of research on this. They use like physical, and it's not very good. It's a bit backwards, really. Like prehistoric kind of, medieval kind of. Yeah, it's just, yeah, contraption. Yeah. Yeah, they thought, yeah, this is kind of a bit like that. So yeah, but what I did learn with that was also how to, and this was one of the other facilitators, B, that helped me with this initially. She just told me to go quiet, to go really, really quiet, and to put everything down, and just to go super silent and just repeat the mantra, I love me. And I did that for about 2 weeks solid. No books, no, nothing. Just 2 weeks solid did that, and really focused on what I was and wasn't putting in my body. And then that's preparing the body to start the release. It's important that we do, if we're aware of these things, that we start to prepare the body, fasting, realigning our thoughts, etc., because then otherwise we're not actually ready to release it, and we're not aware of what how it's affecting our consciousness. And yeah, so they receive energy through self-sabotaging behaviors, drugs, alcohol, sex, food. Any more other ones anyone can think of? Pornography,
Words,
social media.
just
Yeah.
words that you use against yourself as well.
Yeah. So
lower energies, lower feelings, fears, frustrations, doubt.
Yep.
Just really give them the power, and that's really true. When you start to basically treat yourself in more devotion, starting with loving yourself, loving your parts, and then starting to take a good care of yourself, you start to starve them. It's almost there, like you starve them up a little bit, and then
totally
they loosen the grip. They don't have the same amount of power anymore. And when they're enough, and you're centered enough, and you're able to stay in a witness's consciousness, anchored in love, and then release them with love, that's when you'll learn some lessons, and then you can really let them go. Yeah. And thank you. I know, there's something so important in IQH. It is the big difference is that we are really acknowledging entities, and acknowledging that there's clearing of energies that need to be communicated with and to be cleared. And what I learned through my practice, that it's not just every density, every type of energy in your body almost can be communicated with. If we're bringing up a virus to be communicated, if we're bringing up a density that was emotional density, emotional blockages that cause an energy block somewhere in the body, and that you just take that density and ask to communicate with it and bring it forward. Even if it doesn't have an energy of a human, it would be like, oh, I'm fear, I'm resentment, it will tell you what it is, like, and then you can learn when did it started, how did it come in, and when that lesson's being integrated, then the release is possible, because it doesn't really need anymore. It's like the information was received. And so I really like playing with it, like finding those little densities, and see if they're not being cleared right away just by the higher self doing it by itself, to really take the opportunity and see, what is this energy? Can we speak to it? And it's interesting. You can speak to a thought form. You can speak to a curse of somebody that was being sent to you, negative energy, and just sent so much dark energy to one direction that it's literally created an energy. And it's really, really, really fascinating. You probably know, you guys, but I'm just sharing it for you.
Yeah, completely.
Remind.
I just want to say also that when it comes to like attachments and entities and possession and that, so not all of them are dark, not all of them are demonic, not all of them are here with a mission in light or dark. Some of them can be a little young girl that got left in the playground and you fell over when you were 4 and grazed your knee and mum wasn't around, and the little girl came along to help you and she cuddled you and attached herself to you, and there we go, and then we continue life, and whatever happens, so it can be, some of it can be quite sweet, and some of it can be quite sad, and so that's why, as Ron said, we just have to give them love in whatever form they arrive, in whatever light or darkness they arrive, and they will find their way back. They will, because that's where they came from. They came from love initially, and even if God gave them a mission, that was given through love. There we go.
Yeah, we definitely all have the spark of source, and we just point it back to there, and from there we can start to remember. Okay, let's see for a moment. Do any one of you have another story that you were feeling called to share? And
I just want to follow up on what Anna just said as far as the love. You had said, Ron, as far as the negative things that happen, and Anna, you said these things that are coming, it's love. I just had an experience a couple of years ago with a session that I had with a practitioner who I had a lot of old stuff still that I was working on. But I came to the realization through that session that people who are negative towards us, like as a child, I was bullied a lot. So all of those people, before we came in, they were doing that out of love. And that was a very odd thing for me to recognize, because before we came in, we had this agreement that they were going to bully me, or they were going to be whatever, negative towards me, so that I could learn what I came here to learn. Mm-hmm. And then once I came to that realization, I was able to let that go. But it was just such a profound experience to recognize that these people who you have, who have been so mean to you in your lifetime, they were doing it out of love. And if you just think of, the aspect of, as a spirit, spirits are just nothing but, we're all love. Oh, I don't really want to do that, but I love you enough that I'm going to come in, I'm going to be mean to you so that you can learn what you need to learn. It's just a very hard thing to grasp, but it's a fascinating idea, I think.
It's huge. It brings so much compassion and peace and ability to stay in a oneness perspective when you understand it in that.
Yeah, when you're holding on to so much, it just makes it easier to let it go and to recognize that.
And to look at it, how we call it, it's such a 3D to look at it from a perspective.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, do you want to say something?
My favorite thing to do is bring crazy strangers home that I don't know, and multiple of them. And then I do like a surprise session in front of people that have no idea anything. Right? I've done this a few times. A few ladies I bring home from a rehabilitation center, didn't know each other at all. And I'm telling them about this, and they're like, yeah, sure, we'll come. So the one lady goes under, profound healing, amazing healing, and the other one's sitting there watching in amazement. And then the one that's observing, her brother comes through and starts describing that time that they had at the fence at Grandpa's farm. And she's just sitting there like mind blown. They don't know each other at all. So like, that's my favorite thing to do. Another time was like a group of friends, was like 2 a.m. and I'm like, oh, I just learned this thing. Let's try it out. And we had to wake up at 5 a.m. to go down to the airport. So we didn't really have much time. So the session was great. My friend's grandfather came through that was observing. So they had a conversation together, like a conscious conversation together. And then at the end of the session, I actually programmed everybody to sleep very well for the next hour and wake up extremely refreshed, being able to travel and continue on our life journeys with no problems. And no one needed an alarm clock that morning. We were up before the alarm clocks, showered, ready. Everyone was like wired. It was really, really neat. And my friend actually woke up out of the session, ripped her hearing aids out because she didn't need them anymore, and they were just so loud.
Wow.
And she was like, "Why?"
Wow.
Yeah, that
Wow.
was a good one.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow, beautiful. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for sharing. So, okay, I had a question. Again, it's run out. I feel like my mind is everywhere today. um, let's see if I manage to bring it back in. Probably going to be almost the last questions. I do want to remember it. It was good. Okay. Yes, got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. So, from becoming an IQH practitioner, doing this work, how did it help you during this time that we're living in with all those changes, all those things, all this consciousness of what's happening? What what do you think helped you, or what's your perspective of what's happening because you're doing those sessions or getting those type of information? Can you share a word about what's happening and how do you feel about it?
Well, I can. I think I mentioned earlier, I got to a point where I can see myself as this human person, and then I also am the cosmic uh, person, the two people that I am. But more recently, you listen to the intel, all these different people. Everybody's got something to say about what's going on, and it all conflicts with everything else. So to me, what I do is just kind of back up, and the IQH aspect is for getting more in touch with my spirituality. Um, has allowed me to just kind of take a step back and look at all of it. There's so much fear porn. There's so much stuff being thrown out there, and then I hear, well, it's all a movie. It's all a show. So I just step back. It's like, you know what? This show is hurting people, some people, but I also recognize that's being done out of love because they need something drastic to wake them up. I heard somebody the other day say, well, you know what? You asked for all the detail here. We have to give you all the detail before we can reveal what's really going on. So the whole thing I've gotten more in touch with the whole energy aspect of things. Going back to the V and when I was learning Reiki, I did a session. A very close friend of mine had gotten it, and so I tuned in to him, and I just encountered this black goo. I thought, what is that? And so this was before I realized, the whole thing. But I was able to clear him. I continued working on him and cleared him, and that was a profound thing for me, that I was able to tune into energy and actually do that. And when I checked in with other people, in the Reiki, they said, yeah, we did that too. Somebody that had that done, yeah, we ran into that too. So it really made me realize that everything, again, I think I said it earlier, is energy, and nothing can be put in place that you can't transform
Right.
if you are really tuned into it. And so it's really from a spiritual aspect, that really has helped me get through it all.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Next. We have probably more around 7 minutes before, right?
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry,
I was
we're in
like,
a perfect time. I think we're doing a good job here holding it for quite some time. So you're perfect time. So we have,
okay.
yeah. Tell us, do you want to who want to go next about how do you deal with what's happening?
I I've been like an outsider to what's happening. I'm in my little bubble here. Um, if something's directly going to affect me in the future, then I'll do the physical action to do so. But just trusting, this work has really just allowed that trust to come in, that I'm okay. And I've been told several times by many angels that we're protected. Like, you're good, Before this thing came around, I had like a preemptive, like a empathic feeling of the collective and how the collective would feel. Like all of a sudden I wanted to stay in my house. I didn't want to leave. I got all paranoid. And that's when I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening to me? So I had a session done and I'm realizing, okay, this is coming in the future. I didn't tell myself that in the session. I gave myself little hints. So when I listened to it after, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I was just pre-feeling this, getting it out of my system. And now I can be there for other people, that are having panic attacks and are freaking out and not leaving their home. One thing IQH really is good for is anxiety and bringing yourself back to that centered spot. So really helping other people through this, just being a pillar. I don't really have to go tell people anything. Just being here as an example, calm, collected, is doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. Anna Maria.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, and that's how I've experienced it as well. I think when it all started, I heard 2 to 3 years, and I've just sat tight and just focused on me, because what I learned through illuminated quantum healing is that we are, as soon as you have a session, it accelerates, the work starts and it continues, and the path opens. It's like a golden path, and you start to walk it, and then you come across your mountains and you knock them down or you zap them down, however it is. But ultimately what it is that we have to stay in the light in order for the grid to just start to beam and for it to all follow out. And that's what our main task here is, isn't it? Is to stay in light. And then when we do the healing, that frequencies out, and it's just like waves, and that's it. So stay balanced, stay grounded, do the work, no matter how scary or yucky or horrible it is. Literally plow your way through it. And yes, sometimes you feel like you're going to go 100 steps back, but trust me, you're going to run 1,000 steps forward, or you're going to learn how to fly, and you won't need to take a train anymore. You won't even need a driving license. Like, that's literally how serious this stuff is. So, yeah, that's what it did for me. Sorry, it just made me realize that, just stay in light, because where I am right now, my anchor, it's fine. I'm fine where I am anchored. There's no point in me trying to do all the other crazy stuff that other people are doing, because it's ego, isn't it? And it's I don't know. Anyway, yeah.
We know what you mean. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate you so just speaking openly. I know it takes a lot to expose, to share stories, far out, weird things, people that maybe know you more or less, or just being out there and speaking those things and being honest, and whatever needs to come out, you just share. And I just so grateful to feel each one and one of you, your heart, your soul, your dedication, your wisdom, your clarity, your truth. It just brings me so much joy to my heart to be in this family that we are creating together. And just really blessing to know you guys, and that to know that you're out there doing your work. And you can find your contacts when you go to New Earth Ascending, find practitioners. So there's a directory, and you can find and connect with you guys and more practitioners. And I just want to direct people to you guys, because you're really incredible, beautiful energy, and thank you for what you're doing. And yeah,
And
Um,
thank you to you and Michael for developing this, because it really has been it's an amazing thing that's needed in the world.
thank you.
Absolute bravo. Thank you very, very much.
It's so
Like
sweet.
mind blown. Whoa, really? Like, what is been going on? All these millennials. Like, why has this been hidden from us? Thank you.
Just the beginning. I feel like we're just the beginning. More seems to come. Because what's so fun about it is we are developing it together and we're learning together and we can grow with it and combine all the wisdom that we're just coming online. There's so much more wisdom that we forgot that is coming back, that I really just so excited to be open to learn and open to have mistakes and open to correct it and advance it the way that we would, and with people that are centered, that are focused in their heart, they're holding their light, and it's just absolutely joy to collaborate with you about it. We're not doing it alone, we're doing it with you guys. And the what else I wanted to say? Yeah, I don't know. There's today everything's. You started today, and to say that you feel like today everything's is. And I said before the meeting that somehow your brain is filled, everything's shut. I feel like today is the same. Somehow my brain doesn't kick in.
Yeah, it's just empty. Mind is empty, but my body's action, like, woo!
Gone.
The eclipse, Beltane. Oh, and what is it? IQH Light. Well, I'm looking forward to that.
Yes,
Maybe that's what it is. Everything's been rejiggled for us. That's why, maybe.
really fine. To give me like you're starting to read minds. Follow that intuition. Good job. The IQ and they're also just the IQ semi live, the course that we're doing. So we actually have dates on the website that we feel that we probably need to reschedule a little later. But we also learned that the process takes a little bit longer to initiate and to do right now, like with this acceleration of time and things comes bumped into their life. We just had amazing semi-live group that just finished their semi-live yesterday, and so we kind of recalculating a little bit the next one. But I really suggest to people to apply already and to start watching the videos, because you can watch the online course already and then have the meetings, and when you come to the meetings you come ready to dive into deeper information and sessions, and so you're going to get more out of it if you're actually starting the process. So you can register to the next semi lives, and we put there's some of the dates are already there, and know that you can already start the process. You don't need to wait, and it will actually benefit your training. So there's the semi-live and the IQ Edge Lite. It's something that we're developing right now, that we're taking the sessions that normally are 5 hours, we're condensing them to half of the time, and we are focusing on more two topics, and there's a little more process and a preparation for the session in order to have the same impact and be able to be in that depth of trance. And we are now in kind of a pilot time, learning curves of how to do it the best, and get all those information, and also um, develop it in a way that we can teach it and actually have that more out there with so we are in this kind of training ground right now with IQ Edge Lite. So if you want to try a bit more condensed, more focused, more particular, I actually had just somebody, I put those two options, and then somebody just told me I'm a little bit intimidated from like 5 hour sessions, so I prefer to do the short one. I'm like, okay, I get it. I do get it. I do know that like that this long one, the so in depth is so amazing, and you really, really. But I understand that sometimes you just need to like understand a little bit the playing ground that we are dealing with to bring yourself into the next level. So I'm excited. What is it?
Dip your toe in first.
Dip your toe in. Dip your toe.
Exactly.
Here we go. Yeah, and that's take bravery, and that's really beautiful to do, because it is a big change in your life. It is a big transformational experience, very transforming experience. Yeah.
I'd never go back, I'll tell you that much.
I never go back. Never go back. Because, yeah, can unlearn that. Yeah. I want to thank you again and send you so much love. And I hope for everybody, we'll just take a moment of gratitude for the information, and whatever doesn't resonate with anyone who listened, and if it's something you can just let it go, you don't need that anymore, and just take whatever nourish you, whatever bring you more joy and empowerment, and um, makes you feel more aligned with yourself, with your truth, with your authentic self. And may we dedicate to self-love and growing love to ourselves, and through ourselves to recognize the oneness of one another, and how we can connect heart to heart, and how eventually we're all one. So when we love ourselves, we can connect to this unconditional love for everything and anyone, and then just together we'll amplify the light. We want to bring each one and one of our energies back to our body, to disconnect from one another, so we can be fully present in this moment, here and now, in our own life, moving forward with confidence and clarity, continue doing our sacred work, dedicating this for the benefit of all. Thank you. Thank you so much, you guys. Sending you much love.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Good.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.